Dear students, welcome to our class on JRF, Joint Research Fellowship, SRF, Junior Research Fellowship, SRF, Senior Research Fellowship in NET, National Eligibility Test 2002. Okay, core group, NRM 1, class 2. This is the class 2 in NRM 1. I try to cover in this class starting from agroforestry, okay, bits. Then we go into all the subjects covered. NRM group covers certain subjects as I told in the several classes. Now I don't want to repeat. Now the first bit in this class is planting trees to help poor people. Planting trees to help poor people for what? To improve their living and meeting their routine requirements of fuel and wood, as also fodder. Fuel, food and water. Fuel, F, food, fodder, F. To whom? Poor farmers. So planting of trees, it is known as social forestry. It is called as a social forestry. F. Okay, food. Okay, fuel, first fuel, then next one is the wood, next one is the fuel. So these are the things. So social forestry, planting of trees for the benefit of poor farmers for F. Okay, fuel, okay, fuel, then wood, fodder, okay, fuel, wood, fodder, and okay, routine to make their living. We call it as the social forestry. Now, bund planting on the fields, okay, and also, okay, the areas which are not cultivated by the farmer in near the crops where cultivated soil is there. It is known as the farm forestry. Bunding on the bunds we cultivate it. It also includes integrating farming with forestry. Integrating farming with forestry. It is also known as the farm forestry. Farm means, cultivation of the crop. Forestry means, growing of the trees, tree cover, which should be 33% on the globe. For hilly areas, it is 66% should be there. But in India, it is only 39%. In the first class, we try to understand. Now, so the form of social forestry dominated by trees. The form of social, usually the farm forestry is dominated by trees only. Okay, on community land or panchayat land. If on panchayat land or on a community land, trees dominated forestry, we call it as the community forestry. Then annual soil loss in India. In India, the annual soil loss is 16.35 tons per hectare. Imagine, we don't get from most of the crops 16.35 tons produce, but we are losing 16.35 tons per hectare. Annually we are losing the soil in the soil loss equation. Universal soil loss equation I have covered last year. Please see those bits. Now, so the land degraded due to mining in India is, the land which is degraded because of mining in India is 50 million hectares. 50 million hectares. The extent of degraded forest in the country is the extent of degraded forest in India out of 329 million hectares. It is slightly more than 40 million hectares. 40 million hectares is degraded due to the it is a degraded forest land, which was the forest land. It is degraded. Now, maximum area under wastelands are in which state of our India? Wastelands. So they are in Rajasthan number 1, followed by Madhya Pradesh, followed by Maharashtra. In the ascending order, descending order, this question may come. Please understand. So the land under wastelands, the area under wastelands is maximum in Rajasthan, followed by Madhya Pradesh, then by Maharashtra. So by the end of the century, the crop land reduced by how much percentage? Because of the human population explosion. It is a 19% reduction in the land cropped area for food because of the population explosion in India. Now, the product from fermentation of high carbohydrate fruits. What is the product? Ethanol. The answer is ethanol. Now, so the basis of division of country. Okay, actually, India is divided into. Please note, these are the bits that would come in any form. India is divided into 15 agroclimatic zones by Government of India Planning Commission. In the year, tell me which year? It is in the year 1989. Now, see, leave it there. So here the question is, ICR had classified, this bit will come, that's my interest is ICR. In the year 89, Planning Commission had divided India 15 agroclimatic zones. That is, as I said several times in the intro to agrometeorology, climate, I have covered it several times, so I don't want to repeat it. That year is 1989 also I told. Now here the bit is, ICR classified India into agroclimatic zones are 127. Now in this year it has gone to 130. This bit will come. ICR, not Planning Commission of India. Now another important thing is agroecological regions, not zones, agroecological regions. ICR has divided India into 20. This is the bit, 20 agroecological regions. Now in the forestry, most common bits that we get are trees plus crops, agri-silviculture, trees plus crops during initial years, energy plantation, trees plus crops. Okay, we also use in the shelter belts and windbreaks. Trees plus crops, windbreaks and shelter belts. This is the trickish question. In all these trees plus crops, trees plus crops, trees plus crops are there. If bit is given shelter belts and windbreaks, you should tick the answer. Second thing, you should tick the answer for crop. Okay, main crop. When it is the initial stage of the crop, then we call it as the energy plantation. The system, tree plus crop system, is known as agri-silviculture. Agri-silviculture. Once again, I'm telling. Trickish question, difficult to immediately pick up, unless otherwise you think. Tree plus crop, tree plus crop, tree plus crop. In one situation, the system we call it as agri-silviculture. Okay. Why we call it as, and when we call it as energy plantation, when trees are trees and initial stages of a certain crop, when trees are going initial stages, we go for some crop. That's what we call energy plantation. And trees and crops are also done for the purpose of either windbreaks or shelter. That's why I'm repeating twice. Please be very cautious. Now, homestead forestry. This is another thing. Multiple combination of trees, fruits, vegetables, etc., etc. Homestead forestry means, in the house we have a tree or two trees which will give fruit. Okay, some vegetables are there, and also some woody plants are also there in the this thing. So last bit for today's class from forestry type is that legumes plus crop. We call it as the LA cropping. Legumes, quick growing legumes and crops. We call it as the LE cropping. Now here, so in the NRM 1, some most important bits we continue in continuation of the first class. So here the differences among, please note that the differences among the experimental units, treated alike, we treat them alike for certain analysis in agronomy or in soil science. So it is called as experimental error. In other words, experimental error is defined as treating of the experimental unit differences alike. We treat them as alike. Then we call it as the experimental error. If the organic carbon content of the soil is less than 5%, less than 0.5%, organic carbon status in the soil is rated as less. 0.5% and less. We know, I have covered in the soil science bits in the last year. This year also in the soil science component I will cover. So till that point, please remember, if the organic carbon content of a soil is less than 0.5%, the organic carbon status we call it as the less. It's not medium, it's not more or very high. No, in peat soils it's very high. I covered in the next class. The nutrient that is added, another nutrient, new nutrient that is added to the list of essential elements recently is Ni nickel. Now, so which of the following soil structures has the highest hydraulic conductivity? What is, thermal conductivity, hydraulic conductivity. So they are all explained by certain theories. Okay. So as far as the soil structures are concerned, certain soil structures allow the hydraulic conductivity very high. Okay, very good. Certain soil hydraulic conductivity, so useful for some crop to rise in a profitable way. Now here the question is the soil structure which has the highest hydraulic conductivity is a crumbly structure. It's not blocky, it's not prismatic, it's not flattish. It is a crumbly structure. Crumbly structure has a high hydraulic conductivity. At the saturation capacity, when soil is saturated, the movement of water is free. in a saturated condition, the water moves freely. It won't go sluggish. It won't go in any other form like vapor or anything. So in the saturated soil, the movement of the water is free movement we call it as. Another bit for today's class is Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sanchaya Yojana, PMKSV, formed. Why? What is the main objective? It is the object is per drop more crop. Per drop of water more crop. Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sanchaya Yojana focus. It focuses on. Now, colchicine is generally used for chromosome doubling. We wanted to go for chromosome doubling, we use colchicine. It is one of the things. Now, seed pre-treatment recommended to break physiological dormancy in forest seeds. There is a physiological dormancy in the forest seeds. Majority of that. Now, what is the generally we go for seed pre-treatment? That is general answer is gibberellic acid. Now, so which of the following is true of an ecosystem? See, in the ecosystem, you will find several established statements. Okay, depending upon the answers given, which is the best as far as ecosystem is concerned. Here, depending upon the options are given, producers are more than the primary consumers. In an ecosystem, producers are more than the consumers in an ecosystem. This is the answer. It all depends upon the answers given. So, when is the Wildlife Week is celebrated? Wildlife Week. It is celebrated in the first week of October. Okay. Phase experiments, FAC, phase experiments are concerned with the ecosystem process and elevated CO2 evolution. Ecosystem process, how CO2 is elevated. That's what we call them as the phase experiments. Now, inbreeding in self and cross-pollinated plants leads to homozygosity. That's why only in any agriculture university study B.Sc, M.Sc, Ph.D, inbreeding. That's what we call that. So okay, that's why in general, the ICR or state agriculture universities with some good intention, they suggest at least one of the 3 degrees, bachelor's, PG and PhD should be outside. So there is no inbreeding. So inbreeding in self and cross-pollinated crops, we call it as the heterozygosity. Okay, heterozygosity. Now, which among the following is a resource conservation technique in terms of agricultural sustainability to sustain the agriculture production? There are several resource conservation techniques. Again, the answer depends upon here. Several answers are given. Resource conservation technique. The answer is leaf color chart. It is a resource conservation technique. So the concept of biodrainage. The concept of biodrainage involves growing of certain plants that the answer first I will and explain to you later. Draw much water than is necessary for growth. Biodraining. So it is a plant is a biological system. So it drags, it drains out so much of water which is not that much required, beyond the requirement. That's what we call bio-draining. See, it all depends upon the answers given. Bio-draining, that means to draw much water than it's necessary for growth. Which of the following soils has the maximum capillarity? Maximum capillarity. So 10 to 15 minutes back I told, okay, 10 minutes back I told. So the clay soils have maximum capillarity. We try to break the capillary movement of the water through soil mulching. This bit also will come in another form. Okay, now, so 1 cubic of water, we always say 1 cubic. How much it is equal to? Okay, 1 cubic in liters per second. The bit may come. So it is 28.32 liters per second. We call it the cubic, 28 liters. Approximately 3 small buckets we use daily, small plastic buckets, 28.32 liters per second is the 1 cubic of water. The particles suspended in the air are called aerosols. The solid and liquid particles that are present in the air are called as the aerosols. See, in the atmosphere, aerosols are very, very important. So, dust particles, you can say some sand, or say some sort of sodium and chlorine over the oceans. Most of it is salt. So they all act as the nuclei of condensation. So the solid and liquid particles that are present in that particularly troposphere, we call them as the aerosols. AEROSOLs. Thanking you very much for your very patient hearing.